From causing the most mind-numbing incidents to some of the funniest antics the F1 world has ever seen, the paid drivers of Formula 1 never fail to disappoint. But it doesn't matter how hilariously bad you are when you have a father with billions in the bank. So strap in as we take a look at the biggest rich kid paid drivers of the past decade. Now, it goes without saying that most F1 drivers come from extremely rich families, but we're focusing on the drivers who couldn't get into F1 on merit alone, instead relying on their rich daddies to buy their way into the sport. And we're better to start than the legendary Nicholas Latifi. With his dad's net worth of $3.5 billion, combined with other sponsorships, Latifi reportedly brought in a whopping $30 million to Williams for his seat in F1. So surely, if he was spending that kind of cash, he would have had some good performances, right? Well, let's take a look at Saudi Arabia 2022, and you can decide. When qualifying rolled around, Latifi wasn't exactly looking like a speed demon, so he decided to spice up Q1 just 7 minutes in, losing control of his Williams at 150 miles per hour.
I crashed, guys. Sorry.
This can't have been Nicky's dream start to the weekend, but maybe, just maybe, he could redeem himself on race day and at least finish the race. Well, apparently that was too much to ask for, as Latifi put it into the wall on lap 16 in the most laughable-looking incident.
I don't know what happened there. Me, man.
It's not even like these incidents were a rare occurrence for Nicky. Just take a look at qualifying at the 2021 Dutch Grand Prix, FP3 at Austria in 2020, and even the formation lap at Monaco in 2022. Honestly, the list goes on, but the most infamous of all these crashes came at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Again, Latifi decided to display he had the talent of a goldfish by losing control of his Williams once more.
Oh no! Nicholas Latifi has crashed!
But this time, it had consequences. Major consequences, as it brought out the safety car, and I'm sure you all know what happened after that.
Max Verstappen is champion of the world!
But before we move on, I just have to show you FP2 at Suzuka in 2022. So, it's practice, and Latifi decides to switch off any brain power he had as he takes a wrong turn on the track, ending up in a dead end. This is funny enough by itself, but Nicky's radio blaming the car is just the icing on the cake.
There. The car. That was strange. Anyways, I'm okay.
I can't really make a video about paid drivers without talking about the infamous Stroll. For his first seat at Williams, his billionaire father reportedly paid an eye-watering $80 million. But it doesn't stop there, as his dad would go on to buy a whole F1 team for his son. I mean, it's one thing paying for a seat, but having your own F1 team bought for you is just next level. It's no wonder Lance has lasted 8 years in the sport, but his time in Formula 1 hasn't really set the world alight. While he certainly is a better driver than Latifi, which isn't exactly a high bar, he hasn't escaped from causing some utterly comical incidents. Now, I've covered most of these in depth in my Lance Stroll video, but let's take a look at some of his highlights, and where better to start than the 2023 Singapore Grand Prix. It was Q1, and Lance was clearly pushing hard, but it's just a shame his talent couldn't keep up, as he lost control of his car in dramatic fashion, hurling into the wall at 150 miles per hour.
Gasly goes, oh, he's going to put it in the wall! Big crash on board with Lance Stroll!
Whilst we're glad he walked away unscathed, he not only ruined his qualifying, but the crash also meant he couldn't race on Sunday, limiting Aston Martin's chances to score some valuable points. Another showcase of Lance's generational talent came at Monaco in 2023. It was lap 57, and Lance decided to end his own race in this less than dramatic fashion.
Lance Stroll, who as you can see is on the intermediate tyres, and another bang to the side of the Aston Martin.
And whilst the track was wet, we can't help but laugh at this incident. I could go on and on about his on-track incidents, but I think the pinnacle of Lance being a spoiled paid driver came at Qatar in 2023. Despite having a car clearly capable of making it through to Q3, Lance's talent deficit saw him exit in Q1, which he clearly wasn't very happy about. Not only did he throw his $50,000 steering wheel out of the car, but he also shoved his personal trainer out of the way, something you can only get away with if your dad owns the team you're racing for. Nikita Mazepin is arguably one of the most infamous drivers of the past few decades, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a single person who likes the guy. His F1 career began with his dad's company, Uralkali, paying Haas tens of millions of dollars to become their title sponsor and have his son join the team. But before Mazepin would even step onto the grid, his controversies began. He sparked outrage when he posted a video where he appeared to inappropriately touch a woman. This was a disgusting scandal, and the Russian was universally condemned, with Haas labeling the actions as abhorrent. It's hard to deny that if this was any other driver, they would have been fired immediately. But because Mazepin was paying so much money for his seat at Haas, the team refused to let him go, despite a pouring of outcries online. When the first race of the 2021 season rolled around, Mazepin wasn't exactly a fan favorite, given he was a pay driver who also seemed to be a terrible person. So you can imagine he wanted to prove himself on track. Well, Mazepin did exactly the opposite, as he crashed after just 2 corners.
And that's off, and that looks like a Haas, and it could have been Nikita Mazepin in the Haas.
Günther Steiner wasn't exactly impressed.
This is madness.
And this can't have been the best start to his F1 career that Mazepin had dreamed of. The rest of the year was equally tragic for the Russian, as he would continue to prove he didn't deserve his place on the F1 grid. Take Imola, for example, where he spun more times than I can count and almost caused a collision with Antonio Giovinazzi in Q1, which the Italian wasn't exactly pleased about.
What Mazepin is doing, honestly?
At Portugal, Mazepin turned his car into a washing machine once again and continued his quest of making every single driver on the F1 grid hate him by blocking the race leader, Sergio Perez, from lapping him, despite being waved multiple blue flags.
This idiot.
At Azerbaijan, even Mazepin's own teammate, Mick Schumacher, couldn't escape his wrath as the Russian caused a near miss between the 2 Haas drivers.
What the f was that, honestly? Seriously?
Unsurprisingly, raising tensions within the Haas paddock. As if this all wasn't enough, Mazepin would then pull one of the biggest spoilt rich kid moves the sport has ever seen, as he would blame his lack of success on his car being marginally heavier than Schumacher's. So, Mazepin did the reasonable thing and got his billionaire father to buy him a whole new chassis for the second half of the season. I mean, if that isn't spoilt, I don't know what is. But did this new chassis turn Mazepin into a speed demon? In an earth-shattering turn of events, Mazepin clocked the fastest lap of the following race in Belgium. Was this it? Had Mazepin finally shown everyone he was more than just a pay driver? Well, not exactly. The race only lasted for 2 laps due to heavy rainfall, with both laps being completed behind a safety car. So, unfortunately for Mazepin, he was stripped of his fastest lap title and reminded that no amount of money can make up for his voids in the talent department. When the Dutch Grand Prix rolled around, Mazepin was criticized once again for his overly aggressive driving against his teammates, so you'd think he'd lay off Mick at the following race in Italy. Well, you'd be wrong, as he instead caused a collision which saw Schumacher spin out, which you need to see for yourself.
My absolute turned into me. Can you check front wing?
Copy, we're checking everything and reviewing it.
Across the entire season, Mazepin scored 0 points and had a record-breaking 22 spins in 21 races, earning him the name Mazespin. And if that doesn't show you that money can't buy talent, I don't know what will.